Welcome to the Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva, and today we're going to get some insight in music at the college level. My guest today is Larisa Epps and John Enns, and they're from the Youth Orchestra of Central Jersey. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So usually I start my guests where they went to college. So where'd you go to school?
I went to school at Montclair State University, and I got my bachelor's in music education.
Great.
And I went to a small school in Indiana called Goshen College.
Oh,
and did a little work at Ann Arbor at the University of Michigan, as well as my master's at Temple University.
Wow, fantastic. So before we get into where you are today, how did you pick the school, and was there any kind of recruiting that they did for music at the college level?
Well, I applied to a lot of New Jersey state colleges. I spent high school in New Jersey. I also applied to Carnegie Mellon out in Pennsylvania, and that was my first choice. Financially, didn't quite work out, so I decided on Montclair State because the violin professor there, at the time, Oscar Ravina, was a violinist with the New York Philharmonic, and I thought the proximity to the city and getting to study with this artist would be a good opportunity for me.
Great. John?
Well, I applied to several schools. I applied to Eastman and Juilliard and Illinois, Central Illinois College, and Goshen College. And a lot of went into that. I auditioned for Eastman, and I got in, but it was a little bit above my pay grade. So I went to this college in Illinois and got a significant scholarship there.
Great.
But it didn't feel comfortable musically to me. So I settled on Goshen College, which happened to be nearest to where I lived at the time in Elkhart, Indiana. And I was particularly enthralled by the institution because of Mary Kay Oyer. She was a cellist and a musicologist. And she taught me more than I feel most undergrad professors could do. And it was quite a great experience. And then I studied with her teacher for a year or two at Interlochen and at the University of Michigan, Oliver Riedel. And from there, did some work, some teaching, and ended up doing my master's at Temple University, mainly for the education. Edwin Gordon was there, a very fine musicologist, music education professor, excuse me. And I learned a tremendous amount from that institution, and it really helped me in my teaching.
Great.
So that's primarily where I went, based mainly on what felt comfortable to me in terms of the music department.
So there is scholarships at the college level for music?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And they're sometimes it's based on the needs of the college. The typical thing for string players. Oh, they need violists. Violinists. Move over and get a scholarship. Or when I went in, cellos were not as often taught as they are today, and there's definitely a bigger population today of cellists than there were back in the 60s. But in any case, as a cellist, I found a good but it was more of what I had to offer the department. I was sort of a music education performance major all the way through school.
Gotcha.
And did a lot of performance, but I feel the education is what completes the picture.
Do you guys know how many scholarships they give out for music, or is it you're not really sure?
Well, it really depends on the funds that are available, I think. And I've not been on the administration side of that, but my parents weren't exactly endowed, and so that has an impact on the gift and how much money is available for the music department, which is not as much maybe but usually there are people who make donations that designate it for specifically music, and there's different areas of music. Obviously, there's music composition, music theory, music education, but there's a lot available in music performance that people want to, fill their orchestras with specific instruments.
How about band that you see on, at the football games and things like that? There's scholarships for that as well?
Absolutely. The marching band program is a program that generates money for the music department, but also is a representative and a sort of, an icon picture for the university or college, and it's important that be substantiated, supported, and so they give scholarships for people who want to go on, especially like into marching band and band education and that sort of thing.
So now, how did you get from college to where you are today?
Well, I got my degree in music education and started teaching right away. And when I went to school in the late 80s, Governor Kane in New Jersey had this unique scholarship program where students could apply and get $7,500 a year, so it was a $30,000 scholarship. And if they taught in a rural district in New Jersey for 4 years, or for 6 years actually, they would be forgiven their loan. If they taught in like an urban setting for 4 years, then they would be forgiven their loan. So I ended up going to Montclair, like I said, and my education was completely paid for at the time. $30,000 could do it.
Yeah.
And so I started teaching right away so that my loan could be forgiven. I taught for 4 years in Manalapan, Englishtown. Actually, 2 years there, and then 4 years in Summit, New Jersey, teaching strings, in the public schools, elementary school and middle school in my first job, and then elementary and high school in my second job. And then after that, I started a family, got married, started a family, so I've been teaching for many years now as a private violin instructor, and doing weddings, on the weekend. And then very recently got very involved at the Youth Orchestra of Central Jersey, first as a private teacher, sending my private students to play with the orchestra, then as a parent, sending my children to play, and then I've been involved with the board for the last 3 years. And then this year, I'm very honored that the board has decided to hire me as their executive director for this upcoming season.
Great, fantastic.
We're very excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And John, how did you get to the Youth Orchestra?
Well, it's because of my age, it's a longer road, and so I started in Indiana. That's where I began, and found a job teaching in Haiti for 2 years in Port-au-Prince. And after that, I helped my brother-in-law in Philadelphia remodel his house, and found a job here in West Windsor, teaching grades starting in the elementary level. They had been trying to get a program started, and so they finally, when they hired me, we got a wonderful program started there. It just almost exploded right on the spot.
Wow.
I mean, like it went from 13 to 80 in 1 year, and that was just elementary. And then it just has grown, so now Mr. Pugh, who's also a director in YOCJ, is teaching as many as 300 to 400 elementary students in just one of the upper elementary schools. And so it's a wonderful program that is strongly supported by the community. And it was a great job because I changed with it. You know, I taught elementary, went to middle school and high school. In the process, Portia Sonnenfeld found me, and she was had an unfortunate situation with cancer, and so she wanted me to help her make a transition, and I did, and with the Youth Orchestra, and it was called the String Preparatory Orchestra at that time, and so that grew into now a 3-orchestra program with the Youth Orchestra, and I teach the symphonic level. But the when I was there, I was able to get a sabbatical from the school for 1 year and finish my master's at Temple University. And I've been reaping the blossoms of my passion for music and music education ever since.
Great. So a little bit in college, what is entailed in music in college? Is there practice? Is there competitions? What's entailed at the college level?
Well, I think music is very unique when students decide that that's what they're going to do with their lives, because you typically have to prepare many, many years ahead of time, as opposed to other majors where you can declare your major your first year, decide what you're going to do. Music majors have been studying for years and years, and string players, you know, often from an early age of 3, 4 years old.
Wow.
So that's very unique to music. And once you get to the college level, if you're doing music education, music performance, there's all kinds of courses in those areas, rehearsals, ensembles. For education majors, they need to learn how to play proficiently on other instruments so that they can teach them in the schools as well. So it's very involved for music majors.
And competition as well? There's competition?
You know, if you're a performance major, you're going to be doing a lot of, you know, competitions.
Is there travel involved in that kind of stuff, or is it pretty much just always at the school?
There's a the competition for scholarships is really strong, and to be part of that, to be successful at that, one needs to do, as Larisa has said, to start early and organize. When you asked me to be on the show, you posed some questions, and so I asked some of my students who have just graduated from college and university, and one is just a senior, and is actually the orchestra librarian at UCLA. And she was saying how she started early, like her sophomore, junior year, started preparing solos, which all music students do naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the private teachers incorporate recitals every year, if not biannually, to get students used to performing in public. And the high school orchestras give them the experience of the repertoire that's appropriate for their level of musicianship as a group, and that gives them that experience. So that they start organizing, you know, what they want to do in their auditions for college. So not only is it important, is it essential that you prepare your audition to make a good entrance. Like if you want to go to a school like Eastman or Juilliard or any of these are the high top schools. But even if you're going to Columbia or Indiana University, which are also top schools, or even you know Montclair or TCNJ, Rutgers, you prepare as well as you can for that audition for entrance. And if you want to acquire a scholarship, then you have to show that you've had experience performing, and demonstrate that in your audition.
Wow.
And so what this particular student did, she auditioned many places at different ways. You know, we have region orchestras, region 2 orchestras, so they get a real strong regimen there. And then if they get into region 2 or region 1 or region 3, they go to the all-state level. And if they do really well there, they can audition to get into an all-eastern. And if they do well there, or if they want to, they can go to all-national.
Oh my God.
And so there's quite a lot of levels that they can audition on. And each audition experience is giving them a maturity as a performer. But
And this all starts in high school?
oh yeah,
And they can go to each one of those levels?
that's correct.
Wow, that's amazing. So usually people start music when they're 3-4 years old,
String players can.
string players?
Well, the Suzuki program does that, and that's separate from school. Public school programs usually start in 4th or 5th grade,
Okay.
and that's usually all instruments. At West Windsor, we start strings in 4th grade and winds, brass, and percussion in 5th grade. And that's in question, you know, why maybe we should start everything in 4th grade. And that's, you know, it's always growing. It's always a work in progress.
Yeah.
And
So they have their ensembles and things in school, but then you're saying that they should do these extra things outside the school for regions and nationals and so on to get more experience.
correct.
When they go to college, every college is an audition when they go? So they have to audition at every single college that they want to apply to?
That's correct. It's not necessarily for, you know, if you're a music major, they want you to audition just to get to know who you are and how well you play, and where you will fit. And if you're not a music major, and if you just want to, you know, you just love music, but you have your passions in computer science or something, they still want to know how well you play, so they can offer you a position in the orchestra. And sometimes when you can offer, you know, more than one talent, they like that, they being the school, the university, college, and like that kind of a student, because they will be, you know, a citizen of that educational purpose to promote.
So
their
how many classes
goals.
are part of the music at the college level? There's a whole array of different classes, or are they taking their general classes for the first 2 years and then it becomes all of their
No,
music classes at the end?
Yeah, music majors need to be doing music classes their entire time there.
Really?
And I'm sure every college, you know, has their curriculum for, you know, for every major. But there are so many different ensembles and music courses that they need to be doing. Also, their general education major requirements, those courses they would need to do as well. But it's not like they would just take care of their general education requirements first and then the music courses later. It's constantly, the whole time they're there.
So is music and band the same type of thing, or are they totally separate type of things? Because there's the band for like the football team, and they do all of their little things outside the school, and then there's music as a music teacher and things of that sort. Are they the same, or are they totally separate at the college level?
The core subjects of music are the same. Music theory, and they have various levels of that, usually 3-4 levels of music theory. Music history, same. Of course, the applied music, that means they get their lessons on their instrument. That's always going to be unique to their instrument.
Right.
The band program has various levels too. You have the jazz band, you have the marching band, you have the concert band or the wind ensemble, and each group has their own genre of music, right? And so someone playing like string bass, for example, they play in the orchestra, they play in the jazz band, They play in the string ensemble, wind symphony, excuse me.
Oh, wow.
And they're very versatile in that way. And to get a complete education, if they're going to be in music education, they really need experience in each genre.
Wow.
And so you see, there's a lot to learn at the college level, and even the high school level. They do that.
And how do these colleges find these kids that want to go? Do the kids have to just apply the normal route, or are they sending in tapes, or how does it usually work?
Well, it's a two-way street. Usually, it's the students finding the school. You know, and that's the important thing. You go to a student chooses their school by what, you know, like I said earlier, what feels comfortable, what feels right. You talk to the teacher, you talk to the applied teacher of your instrument, and that will generate an interest in a particular institution. If you're interested in composition, then you talk to the composition professor, and you see what they have to offer and what their perspective is. And usually a student and a teacher can find a common kind of chemistry that can create what the student really wants to become. And I think that's important to understand, that there's the core subjects which are fundamental to music, but then it becomes specialized as the interests become specialized in each musician.
Now you said that you applied to Carnegie Mellon, so I'm assuming it became financial decision because Carnegie Mellon is way more expensive than Montclair State, right? So what can the schools offer at the college level to make that seem a little bit better? Because if they wanted you more, would they be able to give you more to come there?
It's an interesting question, and this is something that we ran into recently as my oldest child went through the college application process, and he'll be starting at college in the fall. And one of the things we were told is that, you know, if you have outside scholarships, that's going to limit the amount of money that you would be able to receive from the colleges themselves.
Wow.
So that was true in my case. I got the Governor's Teaching Scholarship Program, from Governor Kane. And once Carnegie Mellon found out that I had this outside scholarship, they withdrew their offer. They were going to give me $10,000 a year. And then I thought, oh, great, along with this scholarship, I'll be able to pay for this school. And then, once they found out about the outside scholarship, they withdrew that.
Interesting.
So, yeah, and I was told that private scholarships could hurt your chances of getting, scholarship money directly from the college.
Wow.
So that ended up being the case for me. And then, as we went through the college application process for my oldest son, we feel very fortunate that we got a very good scholarship offer for him from Gettysburg College, though he's not doing music, he's doing computer science. But so yeah, he has no outside private scholarship, so we got a good offer from them.
Great, fantastic. So at the college level, it really is all consumption of music at the college level. Do they do extra things at the school? I mean, is there extracurricular activity that a student can do? Did you do anything when you were in college outside of just music?
Yeah. I went out for track for the first time in my life, which was really strange. I got infatuated with the guy that threw the discus, in the sculpture, the Greek sculpture, and wanted to know what that was about. And I pursued that. I also did flag football, and did all kinds of things, and played a little tennis. But I also did some in my college. There at Goshen College, they had what we called a study service term abroad, which was integral to graduation, and everybody did this program where they went abroad, and we studied there. I went to Germany for that, to East Germany actually a little bit, and studied that East-West situation. And while I was there in Berlin, I was given a cello to play by the government. and my friend who was a pianist, we went to the library, and there was a Bechstein upright piano in a not a study hall, what do you call it, practice room, and we played Beethoven. It was so we did that, but we also studied the history as well as got experience with the music of Germany. So there's lots of things that are really encouraged. It's a lot of times what happens, especially at a conservatory, which is different from the university in the sense that they really channel things in music and sort of exclude other programs to a degree. That it's more of like 24/7 in a practice room, and it's very necessary to have quality time with your instrument, to be sure, but it's important for the student and the kind of to help the sanity of and the health of mental health of a musician to have those outside things.
Good.
But it has to be balanced.
But we're coming to the end of our show.
Oh no.
And usually I ask my guests, what advice do you want to give to the families out there that their kids want to go to college and want to do music?
Well, one thing that I dealt with very recently with a student who applied at Montclair and did end up getting in, and is really enjoying his music studies there very much. I told him he is his own best advocate. He really has to sell himself. When he goes to the interview, that's part of the audition process. He actually went through this process twice. The first time, he really didn't sell himself quite as much as he could. And I had a conversation with his private teacher, and I explained he's been in YOCJ, he traveled to Austria and Prague, he's had this experience performing in the symphonic orchestra with the associate principal cellist from the Philadelphia Orchestra. He's had all these great experiences, and she said he didn't talk about them in his interview. So he went through the process again, and then he got in, and he's there, and he's very happy, but students, need to make sure very factually they're, giving a complete picture of who they are and what they've experienced and what they can offer the school. And, being humble, you don't want to do it in an arrogant way, but you need to be able to put it out there. This is what I've done, this is how I can contribute. So to be their own best advocate.
Good. Well, we're running out of time, so thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. And you've been watching The Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva. Until next time.